Hello guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to be talking about the journey of Snuggles and Fun Crafts. I did a poll and I had literally I think the only votes were for the journey of Snuggles and Fun Crafts except for one. So thank you for voting. I have my notes off to the computer, so if I look off to the side, I'm looking at my computer. I'm going to go ahead and just start all the way from the beginning about like I've been crocheting for like I'm gonna go start from the beginning. So okay, I have been crocheting since 2008. I was like, or 2009. It wasn't long till my parents moved into the house that I have my second office in, where I started crocheting, because I was in the 3rd grade when I learned that crocheting was even a thing. So yeah, I was introduced to crocheting because my teacher at the time split the class up between looming and crocheting. I was assigned to looming, however I saw them crocheting. I was interested, but of course we couldn't change it at the time because I mean it was just already split. I don't hate loom knitting, but I don't do it anymore. I kind of fell off the ball because I like crocheting a lot more. There's a lot more you can make and it's got a neater look to it. So I'm gonna say about 2008, 2009, somewhere around there. I was like young, so I try my best. When I was loom knitting, it was mostly scarves and hats. I was trying to figure it out, and I also did socks. I learned how to do socks. But when I was actually crocheting, after I was taught through Crochet Crowd YouTube videos, I'm a visual learner, so I had to learn from a YouTube video. And at that time, the main one was Crochet Crowd. I still love them to this day. I just don't watch a lot of YouTube tutorials anymore. Even though I'm still a visual learner. So yeah. My first struggle was the chain. I don't have any pictures of me actually like trying to learn because I think I was just now getting a new phone and I was just looking up YouTube videos. But I'm left-handed. I'm a left-handed crocheter. And at the time, there was not many videos on left-hand crochet. So I was trying to figure that out. But then I was also trying to figure out tension. I was also trying to figure out how the chains were even supposed to be. And when I first started out, I tend to pick the stitch up off the hook and put it over the top part of the hook. Like the little bend. I got this one. This is from a custom order. Like I would pick this up. Let me demonstrate it. Like I would pick this second loop up over this hook. Like I would have it like that. But when I was actually crocheting, I made scarves, blankets, mostly dishcloths, and because I think that was it. A good bit of it. Yeah. I did switch back and forth from looming and crocheting because I was trying to figure out like just the basic generic like loops. There is a few of the stitches that look similar but not exactly. And I relied on YouTube tutorials before I even knew patterns was a thing at the time. I still don't have the ones where it has the little V and all that. I don't go for, I'm not a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of YouTube tutorials and actual written down, like written patterns, like SC. Like I know most of the terminology, but if it's like the actual V, you know. And if you see this, sorry, I just got back from the doctor. So, and we have to leave this on, so sorry. The most of the things that I have made was mainly gifts and stuff to try to learn different techniques. Like, I remember me making a scarf on the loom knitting, but then when crocheting, I was trying to figure out, I think my two main stitches were single crochet and half double crochet. Those are my two favorite ones. I hated triple crochet. I hated it at time. It's not my most favorite stitch at this moment. However, I don't hate it as much as I did back in the day. But I also did not like double crochet, but I love double crochet. I think it's as easy as a half double crochet. All right, so that is from me learning how to crochet. I'm also, before I get down to the entrepreneur stuff, I started with acrylic. So Red Heart was my love. I remember the biggest project I've ever done, which broke my heart after like it was falling apart, was while I was still learning like different like stuff to make. I made a daisy flower granny square, because granny squares were my thing. Like, granny squares were my thing back in the day, and still is. I love them. I made my friend from middle school I think it was like pink, yellow, and white flower blanket. I don't know if she still has it to this day. I really don't know, but that was over 160 squares and over probably 3 months to make. So I really hope she made it. But I also made, closer to 2014, I got diagnosed with anorexia and I was in the hospital for a couple weeks, and I was working on a blanket for my mother, and I think I was working on it even past like the hospital. I was looking up crochet crowd, of course, and I forgot what it was. It was like one of their Christmas patterns, and I don't even know, my mother still has it. But I remember I saw it one time and it was falling apart, and I was kind of sad. But also I was learning a lot about joining granny squares at that time with blankets. So I probably didn't weave in the ends at the time or blocked it. Blocking is now a thing. I never heard about it back then. So, all right, we're going to fast forward to, I'm kind of in the timeline, started from like elementary school, and I'm now in like, I ended up in middle school with like my journey back then. But we're now going to go into the entrepreneur aspect of how I really started selling crochet stuff, and got into the mindset of growing in my business at the time. But I wasn't even like classified as a business because I was like 16 when I went into high school. All right, so I was crocheting. I don't think I was crocheting my freshman year. I had a lot of stuff going on mentally. Like, I was going to doctor's visits. I mean, I think I was like off to the side. I can't really remember that far, but I know I didn't have a lot of time. If you hear my husband in the background, we're dog sitting, and he's babysitting my cat and my dog because my cat is being very territorial today. All right, back to the topic. But when I was crocheting during my sophomore year, I met my husband in 2015 in December, but we officially started dating in January 2016. I did not crochet during Smart Lunch up until after he graduated, because we were just freshly new into a relationship, and I wanted, we were also working on my eating at the time. So, but in sophomore year, I was crocheting while on Smart Lunch. With Smart Lunch, we had a whole hour. We had a whole block hour. You got your food, which I already had at the time. I had brought my lunch bag, and I brought something to work on. So I had that. And I went to my Spanish teacher's classroom to go crochet. And I spent like 30 minutes on it at least. So that's 30 minutes a day that I was crocheting, to give me enough time to eat. When I was actually crocheting in there, my Spanish teacher was buying dishcloths off of me because she says I love crochet dishcloths, and I was not really into it until I figured out a little bit. If you do it with acrylic back then, it's not really acceptable now, but back then I was learning of, if you used acrylic, because that's what I had at the time mostly, that you can use half double crochet. So that's what I did back then. But she also wanted bigger size, so that's also why I did that. But now I make mine sincerely out of cotton. I don't do it in acrylic. Then, after a while of her buying the dishcloths out of me, I would put them in a little bag and just give it to her. She would buy sets of them. Sets, like 3 sets at a time. I think I was charging her like $5 a set. Yeah, but it didn't take long. It was kind of distracting me from all the stuff that I was going through. And then after that, my classmates were wanting custom made blankets. A lot of them was. I remember one of the ones that was in my Spanish class specifically wanted a half Clemson, half Gamecock inspired blanket. And I never made another one since then, but I know basically how I did it. I just color changed, and that was my crocheting in between rows, like color changing. That was my first ever like into that. So it took a lot of trial and error, but I know a lot more about color change now than I did back then. So, but it was a good start, and I'm actually still proud of this blanket. But I also was using felt as well at the time on crochet things, because before I even realized vinyl was even a thing, I was using felt and hot gluing it to there. So, which we kind of do that with felt eye. So I was kind of doing that, but then I also was making custom blankets for the school. I really wanted just to pour back into the school that done a lot for me, especially with high school. So I donated that to the student council. I believe they still have it. I think while I was there was even like posting on their Instagram. But after that, I was selling Clemson blankets with initials. So I was doing like kind of embroidering, but I didn't know it was embroidering at the time. I was doing custom blankets with different stripes, different rows of different colors. Granny square blankets was my main thing. There was only a few that was like straight up like back and forth crochet blankets. And I was doing baby sets. Oh my gosh, I love those baby sets. I love them. I did mittens. I did the little diaper cover, a blanket, and a hat. That was my options at the time. And this was before I started amigurumi, but I called it plushie at the time. And I discovered amigurumi in 2018. So I believe the first one I made was an elephant, and then I was working at Ingles at the time in 2018, and I was showing my coworkers my work, and I believe one ordered a Snoopy dog, inspired dog, like the little Christmas movie Snoopy. I remember one order was from a Snoopy and a elephant, and then I had my husband drop me off, my now husband drop me off to sell that. But my main thing was elephants. Like, I mean, like I was selling out of elephants at the time. They were ordering it like three every 2 weeks. So yeah. But then after high school, because I mostly sold amigurumi in my junior year and I believe into my senior year, I was kind of just working off and on from orders from coworkers, friends, family members. I worked, I believe, in Zaxby's my senior year. So it's a restaurant chain. I was a cashier. Um, a cook ordered a Clemson blanket. A coworker ordered just a custom colored granny square blanket. And I think at that time in 2019, I was also making like giraffe, I believe. I believe so. I went to college in August of 2019. I'm now graduated, but I started my business while on summer break of my after my freshman year on July 7th, 2020. And so it's been almost 4 years. In a couple days it'll be 4 years. When I first started my business, I knew mostly about Etsy. Etsy. It was great. People were blowing up. So I joined on Etsy, and also it was kind of cheap to go on Etsy. I looked back on it also to like on my posts, because I posted on my personal Instagram, and then I created a business Instagram. So I looked back on it and I would slowly get views, but nobody was ordering up until I got my first Etsy order for a custom remembrance doll, I believe. And at that time, I did not realize the price of actual like plushies. So, I mean, this person was trying to like bargain with me a little bit, but also was having some financial struggles. So I accepted that order, and I think that it wasn't that bad at the time because I didn't go too low, like $5. I think it was like 20, I believe. I think it was like $20. So that first remembrance doll, I had them send a picture in, and then I would do it based off like the outfit and all. So that's what I did. But what really kicked my Etsy off is chunky knit blankets when it became a popular thing in 2020. In December, like I was selling mainly a light blue and a creamy white, kind of like off-white. That was my two best sellers, and that was the only two I really had at the time until like January. I was getting red and all that into there. So I was making a lot of orders on chunky knit blankets, and I priced them at like $40 at the time. $40, yeah. Which wasn't, they were cheaper at the time, yeah, but also I didn't know the price of actually charging for your time. So my chunky knit blankets actually now reflect the time and the material. So when I was first starting off, I grew my Instagram basically off of Instagram groups for small business owners, but I was able to meet a couple of UK people, and I'm still like associated with some of them. Like I see their TikToks every now and then, their Instagram. I know a few of them have done closed by now, and I'm so sorry to hear that. One of them being AEM Jewelry Designs. She made custom jewelry, like it's more like Western country like. I was able to do a collab with her for American Pride collection. However, that was my first big launch, and there was a lot of things I didn't prep. There was a lot of things I didn't advertise at the time, but also it didn't sell a lot of the jewelry. It sold a lot of the bathing suit covers because I blew up on TikTok because I was making my first bathing suit cover, and that was my first clothing piece I've ever like made for myself, except for hats and scarves and like fingerless gloves. So it was my actual first clothing piece. That one was selling, but not the jewelry. I did get a few sales from in person for the flag blanket and the American flag blanket and the military camo blanket with the vinyl on it. It was saying their rank and what branch they were in. So I had 2 orders on the camo military blanket, and I think that's still the 2 orders that I've ever had on that. So it's not a really popular item in my shop, but I still keep it as an option, you know. I was doing custom orders mainly